Hello, it's Time Community. Today it's Lindsley, and I'm so happy to be connecting with all of y'all. Although I miss Dr. Jen tremendously, this is one of the days when we are in different locations. I am coming to you from Southern California while she is back in Park City. And we're doing kind of a short and sweet episode today because this has been one that's been on our mind for a little bit. We meant to be a little more timely about it. I don't know if y'all track it, but the first Sunday in May is called World Laughter Day. And I think it was back maybe as early as when our kids were in kindergarten where I heard the expression 100 days of May. And it was referencing just how chaotic and crazy the month of May can feel to so many of us. If you're navigating family life, it's full of like end of school year events, plays, championship playoffs, maybe graduations, final exams. If you're not navigating family life, it's like getting ready for summer planning, wrapping up Q2. It's just this really full month. Plus, maybe a mom's day in there as well. So World Laughter Day kicking it off felt to us so apropos, and we wanted to talk about the science and benefits of laughter, not just because it's one of those things that we all enjoy and we know we intuitively feel better when we're laughing, but because there is so much science behind it. There's also science behind how to get the benefits of laughter, even if you're living through a moment that isn't particularly funny. Although both Dr. Jen and I are living through some moments right now that on their surface are not funny, but we are finding some humor as we get along the way. So this would be a call to action, an invitation to find humor, no matter what it is you're navigating. And when you can't find humor, there's going to be a little bit of the science around why it might be worth simulating some laughter just to do the health and wellness benefits as well. So let's get into the science like Dr. Jen and I always like to do. Laughter and the science of why it is generally good medicine. Laughter is the best medicine. We've all heard that expression before. Laughter sets off a cascade of physiological, biological changes in your body, in addition to just feeling good. So at a neurochemical level, the laughter action generates the dopamine, the cortisol, and some of the serotonin neuroscience chemistry we've talked about in the feel good chemistry. But laughter can alter the dopamine and the serotonin activity and increase endorphin release as well, so you get an amplification of that feel good feeling. So the mood benefits are kind of mindset wellness number one reason why laughter is such a great medicine. But there's also like heart health benefits, and we know we keep talking about a lot. Dr. Jen is great. Let's all be reminded. Sorry for that little creaky table where I have a little Airbnb. Reminds us that heart health and heart disease is still the number one killer for women. So think about laughter as a way to kind of combat that one as well. The research suggests that laughter actually increases blood flow to your heart, which is excellent, decreases the stress hormones, and then reduces your risk of a heart attack and preventing heart attack disease, and increases that good cholesterol, HDL, so the good cholesterol we hear about. So people who laugh regularly, and we'll get to the science of what is the math. We always want to know what's the minimum effective dose. But people who laugh regularly are less likely to be diagnosed with heart disease and stroke. So finding the humor and finding the belly laughs helps your heart. Stress and cortisol reduction, that's an input in that heart health. But even if a single session of laughter reduces your cortisol something like 37%, and it doesn't really matter how long you're laughing or what causes it. So just getting a giggle. Maybe it's something you go and find yourself, something that you find humorous. For me, I still find Calvin and Hobbes funny. I can just pick up one of those books and read it, and I get a little dose of humor. So whatever it is that makes you giggle, go out and get it, because just one dose of that can be a decreaser in that cortisol and that stress level. Chronic stress always, of course, is what we look at is speeding up aging. So use laughter as a way to kind of blunt that. On the other side of kind of the physical health benefits is really a boost to your immune system. So laughter actually stimulates the immune system because it increases the production of antibodies and activates immune cells like your T cells. Who knew? If you're, in addition to taking your vitamin C, you're trying to fight off some oncoming cold or just be in your best self from an immune health perspective, remember that laughter can help you there as well. Just our immune system's weaken with age, so it's another one of the things we're trying to strengthen. And this one was kind of a surprise for me. Apparently, laughter is also a contributor to pain relief, so muscle relaxation. So a laughter session releases your muscles and relaxes your muscles, and that sensation and that relaxation can last up to 45 minutes. So if you've got chronic back pain or arthritis or joint pain or hip pain, laughter can be one of the things that kind of gives you some relief. And then the last one is around breath work and digestion. So laughing actually encourages your diaphragm and your deep breathing to kick in, which increases oxygen and strengthens your lungs. So think about that as a way to help strengthen your lungs and build your VO2 max. In addition to all that zone 2 that we hear about, laughter can help build that as well. And it engages your abdominal muscles, which is like a massage for your digestive system. Those are some of the health reasons why laughter can be so powerful. And then we always look at things in terms of our longevity lens and trying to kind of feel better now and for the long haul and thrive longer. So if you think about laughter with that lens of functional longevity, there was a research study and the analysis of more than 14,000 adults, and they found that a low frequency of laughter was linked to a higher risk of some sort of an elderly functioning disability. So about a 1.42, if you want to be specific, higher risk for people who were low laughers. Get your laugh on to live longer and have a lot of laughter around it. Kind of the summary ways I think about it are impacts your mood and is a preventative or a reduction of depression. Also impacts your memory and your brain health. The chronic release of cortisol can kind of damage your hippocampus. So if you think about that stress relief component and the reduction of cortisol that comes from laughter, that is something that's mitigating any kind of detriment to your brain health and supporting that brain health over time. Laughter reduces the cortisol level, so happier hippocampus leads to improved memory. Resilience and coping. So a lot of studies have shown that laughter and having humor in those hard moments, and as I kind of referred to, Dr. Jen and I are navigating a long list of them in our individual lives, and humor is certainly helping us soften the blow and blunt the edges of some of those hardships. It's a coping mechanism, but also it is a self-confidence or self-esteem booster, and a sense of humor brings a sense of confidence when you're tackling problems. And then we talk a lot about the importance of community and social connections. And no surprise, laughter is one of the critical elements of building those social networks. And it's one of the lubricants in a social setting. So remembering to embrace the humor and embrace the laughter and see it as a toolkit to build your community lever as well. Okay, so hopefully you don't need a ton of the science about why laughter is so good for you, but there it is if you do. And let's say you're like, all right, I buy in. So what? What do I do other than sit around and start belly laughing all the time? There are actually some proven practices that you can do to pursue a little more of the physiological and the psychological benefits of laughter, even if you're not finding anything authentically funny. So that's kind of the nuance. When we started looking at this science, it was like, yeah, great, laughter is good for you. So there's some days that laughter seems really hard to find. So even in the days when authentic laughter is hard to come across, there are simulated laughter exercises that are worth your time if you're thinking about it as another one of the tools in your mental wellness toolkit. So laughter yoga is one that's made its way. I think, we did a version of this in Salt Lake City called Puppies Yoga, but it was the same idea. It was trying to inject fun and humor into yoga and get the benefits of that flexibility and that strengthening and kind of lengthening of muscles with a lot of the breath work in yoga, and get it amplified and accelerated by something that makes you giggle and laugh, like puppies, or like the actual programmatic laughter yoga, where they will stimulate laughter and kind of get you to fake laugh, like ha 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 ha, and that does actually do some of that neurochemistry release as well. So laughter yoga is one way. We talk a lot about the community and the 5 people in your head. One of the things that is great to look for in your friend group is finding that cluster of friends or that individual who is the one who brings out your genuine funny bone. Who is it that you find yourself giggling and laughing with? Invest time there, invest more time there. We have an array of friendships that kind of provide a different array of needs. And laughter is one of those needs, and finding that friend and investing, or that group of friends and investing more time there, is good for your health. Building a comedy playlist, just like we build a music playlist. Take the time to find your funniest TV shows or movies, or just like scenes from a movie, and build that playlist for a little 5-minute laughter boost that you can go to and get a giggle. The suggestion that I felt like would be a grit and resilience builder in me instead of a laughter builder is to participate in a comedy class or an improv class. The idea of getting up and doing comedy and improv is a totally terrifying idea for me. So I think it would fall more in the grit and resilience camp. But for some of you, it might fall in the funny bone camp. And so take a look and see if you can find kind of an improv class that might generate some giggles while you're out there actually giving others some giggles at the same time. I talked already about puppies yoga, but there's a lot of science around the equivalent of laughter and the increase of laughter benefits that you get when you hang out with animals and with kids. So if you can find a way to incorporate more time with that in your day to day, give yourself credit from the science perspective of building your memory, building your wellness, building your longevity by getting some time to giggle and to laugh. Along with the same idea as the playlist is this idea of creating a file of funny. So we all have email files, we all have physical files. And so maybe start an email file of things that make you laugh and just drag things in there. And when you need a little laughter boost, go back, maybe revisit. And then lastly, there's kind of a daily habit, like we talk about our gratitude daily habit, or we talk about finding some breathing space daily habit, or maybe meditation. There can be a 5-minute daily habit for practicing a sense of lightheartedness in your day. So laughter doesn't have to be something you are only fortunate to come across. It can be something you build in as a habit in your day to day. So, you can add that one to your 30-second checklist with all of the other things we talk about, giving yourself pats on the back, giving yourself permission when you've done a good job. Those are all positive mindset, small actions that build a bigger lifetime muscle. And giving yourself 1 minute of laughter can go into that soup for the positive mindset. Kind of the science then around laughter, benefits and mitigating risks of aging is straightforward. It is something that we can all wrap our heads around. And then just thinking about what's the little action item that you can incorporate into your daily longevity plan to generate more laughter is worth it. The second thing that's related kind of to this idea of amazing neuroscience and physiology that comes from actively cultivating an activity that's in that positive mindset camp is the science around awe and wonder. And this is something that Dr. Jen and I started to hear a little bit about, I think even 2 years ago. You might have heard about it as well in terms of taking like a nature walk or practicing a sense of awe and wonder just when you're in your day to day. Something as basic like, isn't it amazing that I can be up with an alarm clock and having a sense of awe or wonder about that? And that can feel it can feel super faked and super forced. But the reason to think about incorporating a daily habit of awe and wonder, like you might incorporate a daily habit of laughter, is that over time, it creates a neural pathway that's generative and kind of the underpinnings of the growth mindset. So awe is something that happens when you are authentically in a sense of amazement at how much bigger than you something is, or how much grander than your individual moment something is. And as we go through kind of the back half decades of life, plugging into that sense of awe and wonder is an underpinning of purpose and an underpinning of meaning and underpinning of the longer arc of time for why. So when you think about what happens in your brain when you're in a state of awe, there are a lot of areas of your brain that light up, like your prefrontal cortex, which, as we've heard a lot about from Dr. Jen, is what kind of controls our executive function. For prefrontal cortex, let me get that word out, actually super lights up when you are in a state of awe. Awe triggers a release of dopamine, which we've heard a ton about that neurotransmitter, which is linked to rewards and pleasure. But the insula becomes really active, which is linked to kind of your body awareness and your pain pathways. And it creates this really deep connection between physical sensation and your emotional experience. So we talk about neuroscience and neuroplasticity, but think about awe as this lubricant to really accentuate that neuroplasticity and help you lay down new tracks in whatever neural pathway you're trying to build out. So it is a great brain positive chemical accelerant, and also plays into the reduction of inflammation, which is something we're always thinking about in our kind of longevity roadmap. The research around this is really that people who have a sense of awe regularly, so daily go out and try to cultivate awe. And it could be looking at a flower or staring at the way a hummingbird is working, or being genuinely amazed that you're able to drive your car. Things where you're actively cultivating this sense of amazement and awe. People who do that have reduced levels of an interleukin 6, which is a cytokine that's linked to autoimmune diseases. It's also linked to cardiovascular problems and depression. So when you have high levels of cytokines, it's often associated with type 2 diabetes and heart disease and arthritis and Alzheimer's and depression. So awe kind of is essentially dialing down your body's inflammatory alarm system and helping to kind of blunt or mitigate the impacts of inflammation. Also is a big soothing, calming effect on your nervous system. So studies have found that awe is associated with increased vagal tone, which is kind of your nervous system highway, and reduced activation in your sympathetic nervous system. And again, that lower inflammation. Awe, a sense of wonder and awe shifts you out of that fight or flight reaction and kind of the cortisol and amped up feeling that come along with that, because it's dramatically reducing stress and reducing cortisol. There was a small study done with a group of people, I think it was about 270 people, that tracked them over the course of 22 days. And I'm not really sure why 22 days, but 22 it was. Found that when the people actively cultivated this sense of awe, they had a 20% reduction in stress and physical complaints, and their neurochemistry and physiology backed up that sense that they were having themselves, and increased sleep. So again, awe to help you deal with the day-to-day stress in life. And then this last kind of study, I think we all, as we are marching through the arc of time, as we get more and more into decades, being able to slow down time, I think is, for me, feeling like a superpower. The accelerant of time, I feel like a broken record when I keep telling people that I sound like a grandmother cliche, but the sense of time just rapidly speeding up every year is one that's kind of overwhelming to me. And so things that help slow down time, awe is a lever to do that, because it forces you to sit and notice what's really all around you. And it helps feel this kind of sense of time expansion. And studies around this are around people who actively incorporated wonder and awe into their day-to-day 3 times, found that they were that they had a sense that they had slowed down time. They were less impatient. They felt more generous in their time and in their activity, and they felt overall satisfaction in life go up. So that is some of the science and reason for, just like we say, hey, pull in a minute of laughter or 2 minutes of laughter. Pull in an experience of awe 1 time a day, 3 times a day. These are all just little free things you can do. And there are mindset shifts that have physiological benefits to you, longevity benefits to you, as well as mental wellness benefits to you. So actively incorporating a sense of wonder and awe gives you all of those kickers, including the memory boosters that we all want as we're kind of moving through the decades. So, okay, what do you do? So we got this, okay, I need laughter. I got my ideas about how to do that. And then I'm thinking about awe and wonder. What do I do there? And that one, this is an idea that I think got a lot of popularity 2 years ago, but it's worth reframing, is the idea of taking an awe walk. So we've all got the idea of getting more steps in our day, or getting more NEAT, which is, non-exercise activity through the day, or getting outside and feeling the sunshine right first thing in the morning. Lots of reasons why we've heard getting out and taking a walk is good for us. And here's another one. So, frame one of those walks as an awe walk. Nothing more than like a 15-minute to do that. I think the research around this was specifically for adults who took a 15-minute walk for 8 weeks to tap into their childhood sense of wonder. So, for me, I can think about even with our youngest, when he was 5 to 9 years old, every time it rained, we'd go outside and we'd grab leaves and we would do those boat races as the water came down through the curb. When you're kind of little kid, you can watch those leaves do races downhill with that water current. That was an amazing sense of wonder and awe, and free, and a very childlike activity. So something even like that to do. So just getting out and doing that for 15 minutes a day, it showed huge increases in memory and mental wellness, decreases in stress over the course of the 8-week period. So give yourself that as your science activity to do, your daily or every other daily 15-minute awe and wonder walk. A second idea is trying to build in that awe or wonder in your morning routine. So you don't have to walk 15 minutes. You can just look out your window with your cup of coffee or your cup of tea and pick one thing that is genuinely kind of amazing. It could be the way the raindrops have fallen on your window and the chrysalis pattern that you're looking through your window pane because of that raindrop. So in any event, picking an awe moment in your morning routine is fantastic. Third way is to use music as a way to do that. So pick a soundtrack that just takes you out of your body and out of your mind. A fourth, art and architecture, because those are amazing human creations of awe, and finding maybe one piece of a building or one piece of an art that really does it for you, and either have that on your phone or have that in your hip pocket to drive by when you really want to be amazed. Another way to kind of access that sense of wonder and awe. Let's see, my last couple for us here. I always love these because of journals. Keeping an awe journal. The gratitude journal, maybe the comedy, the funny journal, and then add in something of awe and wonder in your daily journal as well. And then the last two, I think, are a little more abstract, but maybe put these on the once a week or once a month rotation. One is to think about vastness. Think about the scope and scale of magnificence that is in your life. That could be if you're living near a mountain or you're living near water, it could be nature. It could be if you're living in a city, the vastness of our ability to engineer the buildings that are all around us and traverse over the river on the bridge. It could be the vastness of science or the stars at night, but it's something that really is getting more to the scale of bigness that's bigger than you are. And then the last one, which I think is sometimes hard in our day-to-day lives because we're busy, as well as when we're in maybe divisive times or occasions, is to go out of your way to witness human kindness. And by witnessing that, it means paying attention for it and then pausing and etching it into your mindset. So this is the idea that you might, instead of just cruising right by that barista, you might actually think of it as, that was really kind that the Starbucks barista wrote, "Have a great day" on my cup. Or that was really kind when somebody let me take a right-hand turn in front of them. Or how amazing that my dry cleaning was brought home to me today by my partner. It's small stuff, but it is stuff that when you give it big voice in your mind, it helps etch those awe and wonder pathways. So that is our short and sweet episode on ways to bring joy, resilience, and longevity into your life when your day-to-day might be out of control or overwhelming. And they center around actively curating and plugging into laughter, and then actively pausing and connecting into awe and wonder. And soon to be back with Dr. Jen and me together at the same time, which is always the best. But until then, take care and thank you.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us here today. If you liked what you heard and you got some tips on how to live better right now and for the long haul, please help us reach more midlife women. Please share and rate and like this show. And we can't wait to continue the dialogue with you on our next episode. Until then, thank you. It's time.